Now, more of Illinois Rising, presented by the Illinois Opportunity Project, the only show directly addressing the problems and solutions for Illinois. Now, from AM 560, here's Dan Proft.
Dan back with Hillsdale College Journalism Department member Scott Bertram on this edition of Rising. And Scott, an interesting piece in the Wall Street Journal this week about New Jersey Democrats actually discovering the state has a public sector pension problem. They've discovered that where the unfunded pension liabilities there are running quadruple the annual budget, which is still smaller than Illinois'. The abyss Illinois has fallen in with respect to public sector pensions. But at least you have Democrats there talking about hybrid plans and figuring out a way to address the unfunded pension liabilities in Jersey. Here, we don't seem to want to recognize we have a pension problem, at least not those who are in charge of school systems. For example, your former stomping ground, Rockford School District 205, about 28,000 students paid $1.1 million in excess salary and sick time pension penalties to the teachers' retirement system since 2014. Rockford has the ignominious distinction of the most pension spiking penalties for any district in the state, as if the Rockford school system didn't have enough problems. The response to the problems that afflict Rockford and the Rockford school system is to steal more.
This is an ongoing problem that I looked at when I was living in Rockford, and it doesn't appear to be getting any better. This Illinois News Network did an investigation, looked at some of the numbers. This is the end of career pension spiking that we're talking about. And the way it works in Illinois, except if you're in Chicago, is the local districts, local taxpayers in your school district don't pick up pension payments directly, right? It's all pooled down in Springfield. So when Barrington gives their teacher a higher salary, it's not just Barrington taxpayers that pick that up, it's everybody in the state. Well, these end-of-year pension spikes, or end-of-year salary increases which result in pension spikes down the road, under the law, it's a little different. If you exceed, it was 6%, now the new law I think is 3%. If you exceed that, then you, personally, the district has to pay this penalty to the retirement system to make up for it. And so the first time I think the Tribune did this investigation, and it was over a decade's worth of time, Rockford 205 spent almost $1.9 million of local taxpayer money to pay the penalties on these higher salaries toward the end of career. And then I actually grabbed this to make sure I had the language correctly. Just after that, there was a little hubbub about that. And so in the labor agreement with teachers, they put in a provision that says this contract includes a commitment from both parties to discuss ways to find savings and not trigger unnecessary penalties.
Boy, I tell you, that's inspired stuff.
When you commit to discuss, you have really made a difference.
That's a big step forward for Rockford.
But clearly, the discussions didn't go anywhere because, again, the new numbers.
Well, they had a discussion and they said no.
Yeah, we don't want to. They reached their conclusion, but the new numbers are 1.1 million. So you're talking over 13, 14 years, $3 million of local Rockford 205 taxpayer monies not going for books, not going for any in-classroom activities, not going to hire the extra teacher, just going to pay penalties for end of career stuff.
Scott, if you want to get the talent that Rockford 205 has, you got to pay market rate. Isn't that what we're going to be told?
Well, pretty soon we might have the minimum that you must pay across the state for teachers too.
Well, yeah, sure, exactly, right. Start with a higher mandatory base, and then you can build off that higher mandatory base to get to your 7-figure guaranteed pension that much quicker, so people don't have to be working well into their early 50s. It's just unseemly, isn't it? I mean, we talked about this last week. This Maine high school principal retires at Maine West High School principal retires at 54, $7 million present value pension. And Rockford School District, a poor school district, a poor performing school district, and a district that's another classic example of the civic institutions in this state, starting with K through 12 education in the public sector, being run for the benefit of the adults, for the adults, by the adults. And when they gets scrutinized or criticized, then it's about the kids and how dare you threaten the
Right.
education of the children.
And it's not as if there have not been stories in the recent years of, again, 205 officials, in essence, crying poor, right? We need more money. Why can't we have more money from the state to do what we need to do? And at the same time, we see these, again, penalties being paid in the end of career increases. And by the way, Harlem District, which is just north of Rockford, was, at least a couple of years ago, was also in the top 10 in terms of these penalties paid to the retirement system. So it's something in the water in the area.
Well, I wonder if it's they look at Chicago and they run the same. I mean, Rockford being sort of a mid-size urban center, similar demographics to Chicago, maybe even more heavy minority concentration, and they run the same scam the political class there does that the political class, the feudal lords in Chicago run. So then the other issue is that, why should those adults in charge of the school system or any other unit of government change what they're doing if they can benefit from it while getting away with it?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, nobody's held accountable, nobody's
Right.
separated from their office, and so it continues.
And it all gets kind of mixed up in that property tax bill you receive unless you're looking a little deeper into it. And property taxes, especially in Rockford, are some of the highest in the state compared to values. And they're going to run into an issue very soon. I was talking to a lawmaker from the city. 10, 15 years, all property tax revenue in the city is going to go simply toward salaries and pensions. That's it. And that point is coming sooner than I think people want to realize.